This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. It's time for me to respond to Donald Trump's constant refrain that he is a victim, that he's taking the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune because he's been improperly arrested and indicted, and that Joe Biden is responsible for it, and that he ultimately, Donald Trump, has a defense under the Presidential Records Act. None of that is true. All of that gets said on a frequent basis by Donald Trump in every rally, speech, campaign stop that he makes. They're all lies. None of it will work in a court of law because none of it is true. And let me unpack it for you here. Let's start with the lie that he made yesterday, which is that Joe Biden ordered Donald Trump's, as a political opponent of Joe Biden, to be arrested. That's not how that works. The Department of Justice, in fact, which is under the auspices of the executive branch of the government. So yes, ultimately Merrick Garland reports to Joe Biden as his boss. However, Merrick Garland is not the one investigating Donald Trump. He appointed, under the Independent or Special Counsel Act, a special counsel. His name is Jack Smith. And Jack Smith is following the facts wherever they may lead. He's conducting the grand juries along with his team of prosecutors and FBI agents. They're obtaining the indictments, first at Mar-a-Lago and soon to be related to his interference with January 6th, Donald Trump's use of fake electors in order to try to cling to power, and other attempts to interfere with the peaceful transfer of power. So again, Donald Trump is not being prosecuted by Joe Biden. Donald Trump's not even being prosecuted by Merrick Garland, who works for Joe Biden. Donald Trump is being investigated and prosecuted by a special counsel who's been appointed. His name is Jack Smith. He has a team of prosecutors, and they are not trying to jail a political opponent of Joe Biden. Joe Biden, the record will show and history will show, has absolutely no involvement whatsoever with the investigation and prosecution of Donald Trump. None. He's not briefed on it. He doesn't have somebody shadowing the process. He doesn't get regular updates or any updates from Jack Smith or Merrick Garland. None. This is completely hands off. It's one of the reasons you don't see Donald Trump being mentioned by Joe Biden or anybody on his team at all related to the prosecution. So let's take that off the board. That's a lie. Makes for good political theater, makes for a lot of people giving him standing ovations at his rallies, but it is a lie that Donald Trump continues to perpetuate. Second lie is that the Presidential Records Act is what he's being prosecuted under, and he has defenses under it. That's a lie. He's not being prosecuted for violations of the Presidential Records Act. Let me stop right there. Donald Trump is not being charged. Nowhere in the 37-count indictment is there a charge for Presidential Records Act violation. He is being held. He was arraigned, arrested, and he's being prosecuted. And there's going to be a trial over his unlawful, willful retention of documents that are not presidential records in that sense. They are CIA records. They are NSA, National Security Agency records. They are Department of Defense records. They are the Energy Department records related to nuclear records, nuclear information. They are secret, top secret, classified, and national defense information. There is no Venn diagram where there is an overlap between what I just described and presidential records. None. So he keeps saying, I get to declassify. I get to keep mine, like some sort of wacky Looney Tunes cartoon where he just jumps up and down and says, mine. That's not a defense. That's not a defense to any of the Espionage Act charges, obstruction of justice, or witness tampering charges that have been brought against him. It isn't. He does not possess, never did, doesn't now, and didn't as president, a magic wand that can magically, like the Lucky Charms elf, magically change documents and the character of those documents from CIA, national Department of Defense, National Security Agency, Energy Department, classified, top secret, national defense information into something else, into something that's personal to him, into something that he can take as a presidential record. And the cases that he cites, there's one, is a loser case brought by a non-lawyer that lost against Bill Clinton. They keep talking about the Sox case for Bill Clinton. That could lead to confusion because Bill Clinton also had a cat named Sox. Let's put that aside. Although the precedent of the cat named Sox the cat, is about as persuasive as the Sox case they keep referring to. In that case, Bill Clinton, you've heard this before, but I'm going to do it again on the hot take. Bill Clinton kept in a sock drawer his musings for an autobiography on audio cassettes, and Tom Fitton, a non-lawyer, right-wing MAGA extremist that runs something called Judicial Watch, which is basically non-lawyers watching judicial proceedings and trying to, who don't speak the language, right? It'd be like people doing Mandarin Watch who don't speak Mandarin, right? Mandarin Watch. Let's talk today about what happened in the Chinese news. We don't speak Mandarin, but we're going to try to tell you what we think based on mouths moving on the video. That's Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch, not a lawyer, never went to law school, doesn't know how to try a case, doesn't know how to read a case, and has been a plaintiff that's lost time and time again, including in the Sox case. He tried to argue, Tom Fitton, that the public should get these presidential records and therefore be made public because they were presidential records. And the court said they weren't. The court said these were personal to Bill Clinton, and not everything in his world is presidential. And that his biography notes were his biography notes, and nobody could get a hold of them. And that's the case that Donald Trump keeps referring to as the Sox case, which gives him permission to magically convert documents that are at the highest level of our national security information, war plans, nuclear information about allies and enemies, war maps, right? Think about George Washington taking a war map, right, for the Revolutionary War and giving it to people, or saying, I'm going to keep this war map for countries we're thinking about invading because it's my personal property because I'm the first president of the United States. You wouldn't envision George Washington doing it. So you can't envision Donald Trump doing it either, even though he tells his listeners and followers that everything's okay. It's okay. I was president once. Remember, I can convert things into Presidential Records Act and make them personal property. To me, that's a lie. That's a lie. He's not being prosecuted for Presidential Records Act. He's being prosecuted for Espionage Act, which is the willful retention, copying, display, dissemination, distribution of national defense information, whether it's classified or not. And that's it. And he's violated it. Let's stop cutting down trees to make toilet paper. It's true. Humans are cutting down tens of thousands every day just to supply the American need for toilet paper. And the worst part is that when we use trees for toilet paper, it's just one use and done. It obviously can't be recycled or reused, so it just goes straight into our water system. That's why I made the switch to real paper. Real is 100% bamboo, so we're using a plant that grows fast, can be harvested and regenerated like grass on a lawn, and it doesn't impact entire ecosystems of forests. Real is the best kind of eco-friendly product because it doesn't feel like you're sacrificing something to help the earth. In fact, it feels like an upgrade. It's always shipped free to my door in plastic-free packaging, and I can schedule it on a subscription so that it comes exactly when I need it. And I never have to worry about forgetting to buy any at the store. Real is now partnered with One Tree Planted. With every box of Real that you buy, they are funding reforestation efforts across the country. So unlike the other TP that cuts down trees, Real is helping to actively plant them. I'm thrilled to have Real Paper as a sponsor to align my eco goals with a product that nature makes me use every day and to avoid further impact on the planet. Real Paper is available in easy, hassle-free subscriptions or for one-time purchases on their website. All orders are conveniently delivered to your door with free shipping in 100% recyclable plastic-free packaging. If you head to realpaper.com/legalaf and sign up for a subscription using code LegalAF at checkout, you'll automatically get 30% off your first order and free shipping. That's REELPAPER.com/legalAF or enter promo code LegalAF to get 30% off your first order plus free shipping. Let's make a change for good this year and switch to Real Paper. Real is paper for the planet. And then, it's both the crime and the cover-up. The cover-up of that crime is a crime as well. The obstruction, the shifting and moving of boxes back and forth between Bedminster, Mar-a-Lago storage room, and Trump bedroom or personal quarters, using Walt Nauta and maintenance workers. That is obstruction. And if you didn't commit a crime, then why are you moving boxes around to avoid your own lawyer the ability to have reviewed them properly, to avoid the the reach of their subpoena and search warrant, to avoid the Department of Justice? If everything was fine and they were all presidential records, you're sure not acting like they were. You're acting like you're somebody that's got something to hide. And that itself creates obstruction of justice and therefore another crime. As does destruction of evidence, as does witness tampering. And so that is why you're being indicted. Donald Trump likes to say, he said it just yesterday, that the charges against him are false and fabricated. Let's stop right there. I don't have a full handle yet on all of the evidence that's in the other grand juries that are investigating Donald Trump just for Jack Smith alone, which is election interference, everything that happened on Jan 6th, the fake elector scheme that was implemented to cling to power, unlawfully, and the grift, raising money on the backs of a lie. I don't have all the evidence. We've reported on Legal AF and on hot takes like this one, dozens and dozens and dozens, and I could reel them off here, of witnesses that have gone in to testify, attorney-clients, privileges that have been stripped away, and attorneys that have had to testify against Donald Trump, including this past week. But I do know what's going on in Mar-a-Lago because it's laid out in a bunch of filings in the last week by Jack Smith's office. I know by reading all of the allegations against Donald Trump. I know the evidence that is in the indictment. All you got to do is read it. The witnesses, the tape recordings, the audio recordings, the lawyers, the Trump staffers, some named, some unnamed, Walt Nauta, obviously, and the video recordings that they are mentioning in the indictment. As if they're writing an indictment as if they have audio and video records of evidence, because they do. I also know, based on the filings just recently by Jack Smith's office, that there's at least 84 witnesses that will testify for the federal government. 84. And that's not all. That's just the ones that they don't want Donald Trump to contact based on the protective order entered by the magistrate. But they dropped a footnote and said, there's more witnesses. These aren't all the witnesses. So let me get this straight, Donald Trump. More than 84, probably 100 witnesses, are including employees you don't know the name of at Mar-a-Lago, maintenance workers, housekeepers, people that work in the kitchen staff, landscapers, and others, the eyes and ears of Mar-a-Lago, your staffers, your West Wing people, your campaign employees, your top advisors, your lawyers, all of them are lying and fabricating. All of them. So you think at a trial, you're going to be able to convince a jury that 100 people got together to fabricate independently, to fabricate and create falsehoods against you, to indict you because Joe Biden is your political opponent because he is the sitting president. That's your defense. And that you're allowed under the Presidential Records Act to avoid being prosecuted under the Espionage Act and for obstruction and witness tampering because you once sat in the Oval Office. That's your defense? Okay. That barely works. Yes, I'm sure it was ego feeding for you to have standing ovations at your fundamentalist Christian rallies and at, these soft spots that like you around the country, these self-selected places by your campaign where they know it's ruby red and red meat territory, and you're going to get a standing ovation and acclamation. I get it. It's really exciting when people who don't know the facts applaud for you and think that you're some sort of leader or martyr for them, taking the arrows for them that you're getting indicted to protect them. I get it. But that's not going to work once you walk through the doors of a courthouse and you're sitting at your counsel table on the defense side and you're being prosecuted with audio tapes, video tapes, attorneys who used to represent you coming through the door to testify for the prosecution, your aides, your staffers, your the closest people in your inner circle, when they're all testifying against you. That's not going to be a lot of fun, and you're not going to get standing ovations. Maybe there'll be a few crazies and right-wing MAGA in the parking lot of the courthouse, wherever the courthouse is ultimately going to be for your trials. But that's it. So why are you doing it? Why are you dragging democracy through this? Why? Because he's trying to avoid going to jail. If he can get the trials kicked out beyond November, the November trial, a year from November, and he can get a Republican to win the presidency, either him or somebody else, to beat Joe Biden, P.S., good luck, and they pardon him, he's out from under the federal problems a year and a half from now. But if Joe Biden wins, he'll never get pardoned, ever. And for the state cases, like in New York and in Georgia, he's not getting pardoned either. Georgia's governor isn't in charge of pardons. It's done by a committee that has as many Democrats as Republicans, and New York is controlled by Democrats. So you're never getting pardoned, and you're going to go away to jail. And the sooner you stop lying and grifting and raising money by telling people these complete untruths, the better it is for democracy. I mean, there's a lot of thoughts out there that Joe Biden should put an end to the long national nightmare that is Donald Trump running for office as a criminal, and should give him a pardon. I'll leave that for another hot take. It's been done before in the past. But I think justice needs to be done here. We'll continue to report it on hot takes just like this one, only on the MeidasTouch network. Every Wednesday and Saturday, we put together and curate the best of these stories in real time at the intersection of law and politics. And we curate them for you, these politically charged litigation matters. We bring it to you on Legal AF, our podcast on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And you can follow me, Michael Popok, on all things social media at MS Popok. And you can give me a thumbs up here. Keeps the quality and the content of what I do about every day for you coming to you. Open up a dialogue with me. Mention me in a comment. I'll come back to you and we'll have a dialogue. In the meantime, this is Michael Popok reporting for Legal AF.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.